All right, everybody, here's where we left off from the last time we didn't talk about taxation of annuities. Really, it's a simple idea that I want you to understand. We're not going to calculate this or figure it out, even though that's a fairly simple calculation. I want you to understand what's going on here. So when I have money that I put into an annuity, so I give money up. Let's just take the immediate annuity. I give $1 million that I've saved throughout my working lifetime. I want that to be turned into a stream of monthly payments that's going to be returned to me for the rest of my life. Okay. Couple of things are happening here. Number one, that $1 million that I saved up, that was taxed along the way. So when that money is given back to me, I've already paid taxes on it. So that part of it I shouldn't pay taxes on. But the $1 million I gave to the insurance company, they invested that. That money has grown. That growth has not yet been taxed. So that part of it that's given back to me that represents growth, that has to be taxed as part of my annuity payment. The bulk of it is going to be what I already put in, and that was already taxed. So most of it is not going to be taxable. Some of it will be. So it's a blend. So yeah, that's what I said. We've already, the premiums, the money that I put into the annuity, I was already taxed on that. So when it comes back to me, it should not be taxed. But as it's growing, it's earning investment income. That hasn't been taxed yet. That piece has to be taxed when the money is returned to me. This is the big idea. The money they give to me, part of that is just giving me back what I already put in, and part of it is a return of investment gains. And because of that, part of it we have to tax, part of it is tax-free. And the way you actually calculate that is something called the exclusion ratio. If you're super interested, hey, go ahead and look in the textbook. It's not difficult, but I don't know that in introductory risk management insurance class, if you need to get into the specific how to calculate the taxation of an annuity payment, that seems a little specific and pointy. But hey, yeah, it's there. If you want to read about it, you go right ahead. That's great. I won't expect you to do that as part of the class. I do expect you to understand the idea that part of it represents money that's already been taxed. Part of it represents money that has not been taxed. And so part of your payments are going to be taxed when you are involved with an annuity scenario. Okay, now I want to switch gears and I want to go back to these individual retirement accounts, IRAs. Two different types, traditional IRA, Roth IRA. The only difference, you get a tax break in either of them. It's just the timing of when you get that tax break. With the traditional IRA, I get the tax break right now. With the Roth IRA, I get the tax break in the future. Let me explain. So a traditional IRA, the way it works, not everybody can do a traditional IRA. You have to have what we call earned income. That's income that shows up on a W-2. So it can't be passive income, like if you earn your income from renting property that you own. That's not considered earned income. You have to be an employee. There has to be employer taxes taken out on that. Basically, it has to show up on a W-2. That's a pretty good definition of what constitutes earned income. It can't be gifted income to you. If you have no income and your only money is from other people giving you money, if it's not an employee relationship, then you don't have earned income and you can't do a traditional IRA. You also have to be under the age of 70 and a half. That's arbitrary. But at that age, you're supposed to be taking money out of retirement accounts, not putting money in. And here we're talking about the eligibility, who can put money into a traditional IRA. How much can you put into an IRA? Well, $6,000 is the limit now. For a long time, it was $2,000 a year. And then eventually they decided, look, because of inflation, we need to up this amount so people can put more in. And we gradually did that. Between 2002 and now, we went from 2,000 as the limit to 6,000. So the most you can put into a traditional or a Roth IRA is $6,000. If you happen to be closer to retirement age, they'll let you throw in an extra 500. That's not critical, but it is technically true. And you'll see that if you Google 2020 IRA limits, you'll see that. 6,000 for the average person. If you happen to be older and closer to retirement, it'll be 6,500. They'll allow you to put a little bit more in. Okay, we also have income limits. If you make too much money, you may not participate in a traditional IRA. More to say on that on a later slide. Okay, so how does this work? Your contributions, you don't pay income taxes on. So let's say I earned $50,000 this year. At the end of the year, I get my W-2 form and it says you earned $50,000. Okay, well, from that, if I made a $6,000 IRA contribution, I would only pay income taxes on $44,000, not $50,000. That's the tax break. So the money I put in, I don't pay tax in this year. When I get to retirement and I take money out, then I will have to pay income tax on that money. So it's a tax deferral. It's a break. I'm not going to pay taxes today. I'll have to pay the tax in the future on that. So that's advantageous if I'm in a high tax bracket right now. But we do take away that tax break if you earn too much. It's in the neighborhood of, for a couple, I think it's in the neighborhood of 150,000, something like that. So it's not like you're insanely wealthy and you lose the tax break. You just have to be upper income and you lose the tax break from a traditional IRA. So it's aimed at average people, right? The whole point was we don't want to give wealthy people tax breaks to save for retirement when they're already okay. They don't need an incentive to save for retirement. They have enough money. So this is targeted to try to encourage average people, right? I mean, the median household income, half earn more, half earn less. Median income in 2020 is about $60,000. So when you start talking about phasing out tax breaks for people who make, 2.5 times that, well, okay, yeah, they're twice as well off as the median family. So maybe that's not where we need to direct tax breaks to. That's politics. But this has always been the case. Individual retirement accounts, the reason we have them, we want to encourage people to save for retirement, because if they don't, then they have to work until they die, or they work until they no longer can. And now that's a burden on society. We're better off if people are handling that themselves within families. And the way to do that is to say, okay, if you're going to take on the responsibility for saving for retirement yourself, we will give you a tax incentive to do so. And that's what a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA does. We just haven't talked about the timing of the Roth yet. So here's the thing. You put money away for retirement. This is a big deal. You use a special account. You can't take the money out early. And they define early as anytime before 59 and a half. If you take it out early, not only do you have to pay income tax on that money, you would have had to do that anyway, but you also pay a 10% penalty tax. So it is a terrible financial decision to take money out of a retirement account. The whole point is you need it to stay in there to compound. Remember, compounding is what builds into comfortable amounts. You need the time, you need the compounding. The worst thing you could do is take money out of a retirement account. So that's last resort only. And to emphasize that, they say, hey, if you take money out early, you're going to pay regular income tax at whatever bracket you're in. And then you're also going to pay an additional 10% penalty. So for most people, taking money out of a retirement account is a terrible idea. Not only do you have to pay a penalty tax, but when that money's not in there, it's not compounding. So before you put money into the retirement account, it has to be money that you can live without. It has to be with the idea that, no, I'm going to never touch this. I'm leaving it in there till I'm retired. I mean, here we're going to define that as 59 and a half. It's arbitrary, but that's the definition. It is true that there are certain reasons, hardship withdrawals. So if you lose your job, you could take money from a retirement account. You'd have to pay income tax, but you won't have to pay the penalty tax. First-time purchase of a home is another exception to the penalty tax. So you can take money out of a retirement account to fund your first purchase of a home. You'll pay income tax on that money. You won't pay the penalty tax. Still not a good idea. Before that money goes in, the decision has to be, I'm leaving it for retirement. If you can't say that, don't put it in. Save it somewhere else, and then you'll have access to it and you'll have some liquidity, right? And that's valuable. Liquidity is valuable. If you're going to put it in a retirement account and get forced into a situation where you have to take it out, that's going to be financially painful. After you get to age 70 and a half, we start to force you to take distributions, and we force you to pay taxes on that money as it comes out. So that's the deal. We're going to give you a tax break up front, but at some point we expect that you will pay tax on that withdrawal. Roth IRA, we're going to flip that. So if I earn $50,000 this year and I put $6,000 in a Roth IRA, I still pay income taxes on $50,000 in income. But in the future, when I take that money out, I don't pay any tax on it at all. So where's that attractive? Well, what if I'm in a low tax bracket right now, but in the future I expect to, earn more and be in higher income tax brackets? The Roth IRA is super valuable for people who are young, because young people typically are going to be in higher tax brackets later on, but right now they probably aren't. And I know it's a generalization, not always true. The key is the tax break, the tax rate. What tax brackets are you in? Brackets are progressive. The more money you earn, the higher percentage you pay in income taxes. So if I'm in the highest tax bracket right now, I don't want a Roth right now, because that doesn't give me a break until the future. I want my break right now. I want the traditional IRA. If I'm in a low tax bracket right now, well, if I do a traditional, I wouldn't pay taxes right now, but my rate is low. So that's not that valuable. I want that in the future when I'm going to be in a much higher tax bracket. That's the thinking. The reality is tax laws can change. We don't know what's going to happen with rates and brackets. They change all the time. If you look back 40 years, we've had some real wild changes in tax rates. Right now, historically, they're fairly low. And that means everybody should be thinking Roth IRA. Nobody knows, but I have to believe that right now, because we're historically low for tax rates, the future is more likely to go up than go down. I have to believe that. Might be wrong, but that's a guess, and it's based on what I know historically about tax rates. So if I'm thinking about that, I'm tilting towards Roth more than I am towards traditional. And that's the difference. Because you don't get your tax break right now, your income limits are higher for what you can participate in. So they don't phase out until you're earning even more. And that's because it doesn't cost the government anything right now. The cost comes much later down the road when I retire. So the phase outs are going to be higher at the levels of income. You can, if you have a traditional and you want it to be a Roth, if you're willing to pay the tax right now, you can do that, and then you've satisfied your tax obligation, and all future gains will be paid out to you tax-free when you are taking withdrawals after the age of 59 and a half. Again, same thing, you make early withdrawals, there's penalties. So just a quick note from my personal life. So I was working for a while, earning decent money, and I did traditional IRA dollars. Then I went to graduate school, and I made no money for a while, or very little money. So I was in a very low tax bracket. I converted everything while I was in graduate school. I paid the taxes at a super low rate, knowing that I was going to be a professor, and that was going to boost me into a higher tax rate than what I was paying as a graduate student. So that was a decision that, in hindsight, I'm glad I did that. It looks like that was the right thing to do. That's one of the hard things. As you're doing it, you never know what the future is going to bring. You never can be confident that it's going to turn out the way you expect. Because of that, most financial planners will tell you, have a little bit of both. Have some traditional, have some Roth, mix up the timing of the tax break. And then when you are retiring, you can choose which account you want to withdraw from, and you can manage your tax liability that way. If you do 100% Roth or 100% traditional, you can't manage it. It'll be what it'll be. Give yourself some options. Do a little bit of both. That's not a bad strategy, because we don't know what the future is going to look like. That's risk management at its heart, right? It's unknown. Protect yourself. The way to protect yourself is to give yourself control. You only have control if you have a little bit of both. So not a textbook related thing, not a school related thing. That's a life related thing. No extra charge. Okay, that's a good place to stop. I do want to get into health insurance coverage, but I want that to be part of a separate unit. So I'm going to cut the lecture off here, a little bit shorter than normal. So yeah, use this extra couple minutes, call your folks, tell them you miss them and you're thinking about them. Don't say, oh, I can't call you, mom and dad. I don't have any time. Not true. I gave you a couple minutes today. But if you have questions, send me an email like always. And thanks a lot for watching. And we'll go from there. We'll do health insurance next time. Thanks.